Hello. How are you, friends? Welcome to Ayurveda Lifestyle Practices. It is 1:56 in Pacific Standard Time, so we'll get started in about 4 minutes here. If you're on, I'd love to see who's here. Say your name, where you're joining from. And if you tried on any of the Pitta balancing or Kapha or Vata balancing techniques last week, what did you do? And how did it make you feel? Hi, Neil. Hey, AC. So last week we talked about Pitta dosha, the archetype, the imbalances, how it becomes imbalanced, and then we went through all the things that could bring us to balance. And so I'd love to hear what you tried on last week in balancing those moments where you feel angry or irritated, aggravated, any sort of inflammation, things like that. Type in the chat function where you are. I know we got Neil and AC joining us, and then if you tried anything on. And we'll get started in a couple minutes here. AC has the sound and the visuals. Yay. Okay, great. Yeah. Oh, did you take Anthony's class last night, Neil? You did. Yay. Awesome. Okay, we're going to get started in another minute or so. Today we're talking about Kapha dosha. And before I get started, I just wanted to announce, which I'll say at the end as well, when more people, 7 a.m. and 5 p.m. classes most days. Both of them, because you're a beast. Good job, Neil. Proud of you. Hey, Robin, welcome back. Robin or Neil, did either of you try on any Pitta balancing techniques throughout the week? Yeah, good job, Neil. And I'll announce that we are moving our lifestyle practice classes to CPY Live starting next week, and they will be still free. So the 30-minute, 3 p.m. Mountain Standard Time classes will be on CPY live stream. And Anthony, you can type in the website. Did not really get to anything, though you've been way less overbooked during this time. Good. And how does that make you feel to be less overbooked, Neil? And if you're just joining, welcome. My name's Emily. Thank you. live.corepoweryoga.com. Cool. So that's where we'll be moving this over starting next week. Yeah. I think we can all resonate with the untethered feeling, Neil. Thank you. All right. Well, let's get to it, friends. Today we're going to talk about Kapha dosha or Kapha dosha. You can repeat it, Kapha or Kapha. I've had plenty of teachers in my programs say it doesn't matter how you pronounce it because it's pronounced differently in different parts of India. So it's Kapha, K-A-P-H-A, or Kapha, but still K-A-P-H-A. Kapha is the heaviest of the 3 doshas, and it's what provides the structures of our body. So none of us would be sitting here without Kapha dosha. It also is the lubrication. So all of the synovial fluids, the fluids in our body, are all Kapha dosha. Provides strength and grounding, fertility and immunity, and the mass and structure of our body. So we all would have some level of Kapha or Kapha with our immunity as well. The elements associated with Kapha is earth and water elements. And so think about the qualities. If you're on and you can type in the chat function, what type of qualities or gunas do you think about of water and earth? What are some of the qualities of water and earth elements? So if you were to be walking on the earth, or right now it's sprinkling. My dog is playing in the background. Hopefully he doesn't disrupt too much. What are the qualities of water and earth elements? Heavy, oily. Yeah, thank you, Robin. Anything else that you can think of? Solid. Yeah. What about the temperature? I'll share. So the earth, yeah, cool. You got it, Neil. Cool. It's rather than cold, Anthony, it's more cool. Cold is more the air and ether elements. Slow. Yeah. Oh, you're all so brilliant and smart. You already know. You already know about Ayurveda. So earth and water elements are oily, cool, heavy, slow, kind of dull, smooth, soft, and stable. So if we think back to the qualities of Vata dosha, they're almost quite opposite. The only thing that the qualities have similar in common are the temperature. So Vata dosha is more cold, where Kapha dosha is more cool. And then the commonality with Pitta dosha would be the quality of oily. And now Kapha dosha is more oily or even unctuous compared to Pitta dosha. What season do we believe Kapha dosha to be in? So we know Pitta is summer and early fall, and Vata is late fall and winter. What would Kapha dosha be? Yeah, Gabby, welcome. Spring, absolutely. So we are in Kapha dosha, springtime. So we know that in the spring, these qualities of oily, cool, heavy, dull, slow, smooth, soft, stable are going to be more dominant during this time. And remember the laws of Ayurveda: like increases like, and opposites create balance. And so you can already start to wrap your brain around the types of things that will help to balance the enhancement of these qualities during this time. So in the springtime, they're more enhanced. And then if you're a Kapha constitution, then you would experience these qualities even more during the springtime. The main site of our Kapha is stomach and lungs, and kind of the upper register of the body. And so it still lives in the stomach and supports indigestion. It's the fluid that helps to coat the stomach so that the heat of Pitta does not burn the tissue or, eat up all the food and then burn into the tissue. So we need Kapha to lubricate and support the hot qualities of our body and the dry, airy qualities of our body as well. And then in the lungs, its primary site is in the lungs as well. And so you'll notice in the spring, and in COVID times, our lungs are much more sensitive, and you can experience more mucus, more qualities of the dampness of Kapha. Its main function, like we spoke about, is structure, cohesion, lubrication. The times of day of Kapha are 6 a.m. to 10 a.m., and 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. So this is when these qualities, whether we're in Kapha season or not, are more dominant. So you can either experience these more during 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., or they're even more enhanced during the spring. So if we know that 6 a.m. to 10 a.m., we're feeling heavy, cool, dull, smooth, soft, stable. This is why Ayurveda recommends getting up before waking before we get into Kapha time of the morning, so that you can feel more balanced, more alert, and the more you sleep into Kapha time of morning, the more these qualities will build in you and will make you feel more tired, more heavy, more solid, more dense. And so we want to make sure we're not overdoing the sleeping in, especially during spring season when these qualities are even more enhanced. And then from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., these qualities are more enhanced. And so this is where we start to notice during this time of day that you maybe start to get more tired. Our digestion is not as strong around, these hours. And so it is believed that we talked a lot about Pitta dosha last week and how it's important to eat during Pitta time. When it comes to supper, it's really eating something light enough to fuel you and keep you satiated. And then we have that intermittent fasting from when you're done eating all the way through the morning time and when you start to eat again. So it's important to follow the yawns. You'll notice you might start to get tired around 8 or 9 and be asleep by 10. And now I know that in some cases this is not doable based on family structure, home life, work life. And so the more we can start to implement these practices, the more balanced you'll feel, and the more balanced you'll feel, especially during the springtime. The time of life associated with Kapha dosha are early years, conception through early years of life. So when you're a child, this is why I always reference, you'll notice Kapha time of life during where all the kids are running around snotty, and they've got all the Kapha liquids coming out of them. That is Kapha time of life. But it also goes up and through even while you're still developing, because we're still building our structure and cohesion of the body, the mind, and all of our organs. And so even through into our 20s, we're still in Kapha time of life. And tastes associated with Kapha, if we think about the elements, are sweet, sour, and salty. So when your Kapha is out of balance, you may end up craving more of these tastes, or if you're a Kapha constitution primarily, sweet, sour, salty might be your go-tos that help you feel satiated, but they don't necessarily create balance. They will increase Kapha. So I'll stop there and see if anyone has questions before we go into the archetype of Kapha. And if you're just tuning in, welcome. And we're talking about our Kapha dosha today. So does anyone have any questions before I move into the archetype of Kapha? Okay, I don't see any coming in, so I'll keep going. But if you do have questions, type them in and I'll answer. So the archetype of Kapha. Broad frame, strong bones and muscles, curvy, a lot of physical and mental endurance and strength. So these are the humans that can endure. They're the power elite athletes. They have smooth, cool skin. Remember we were talking about last week, Pittas have more hot skin. They have cool skin, smooth, thick, wavy hair, large, bright eyes. They tend to be able to gain weight easily, but they have a hard time losing weight. They have a steady, sometimes slower digestion. They walk slow. They have low booming voices, and they talk very leisurely. So they take their time when they talk to explain things. They work really well with structure and routine. And they're very steady and dependable, loyal humans. So I know I talked about Vata being the visionaries of a company. Pittas are the ones that like get that vision done. And Kaphas are the ones that are reliable and dependable and will stick around when that vision kind of falls apart or things don't go the way they're supposed to. They're the ones who are sticking around. They're dependable, they're calm, they're very loyal humans. They're the ones that you want to quarantine with. They're super sweet people, and they're really generous, compassionate, and caring. They learn best with repetition, and they have great long-term memory. So that's our Kapha dosha archetype. This is like the balanced form of Kapha dosha. Think in your life, do you know anyone, whether it's yourself or someone in your family or your friends? Type in the chat function. Who do you know that is a Kapha archetype? I'd love to hear. Robin's Kapha archetype. Awesome. Who else? Your mother. Awesome, Gabby. She must be very sweet. You too, Robin. Let's get a couple more. And some people are dominant or share dominance with other types of constitutions as well. Your mama, AC, oh, love it. And I'll also say, friends, Kapha doesn't necessarily mean that these people are Pitta Kapha. Yeah, so I'm Pitta Kapha. Doesn't mean that they're overweight just because they're the densest of the doshas. It just means that when they're out of balance, they can tend to gain weight easily. They just have a larger structure and frame. So I just want to emphasize that. Like I said last week, that me and Joel were talking about if he were to lead this type of content, he would talk about celebrities that are different doshas. So like Vata dosha would be Gwyneth Paltrow. Pitta dosha would be more like Jennifer Aniston. And Kapha dosha would be more like Beyonce, if that makes sense. Okay. Oh, we got another share. Your mom is Kapha Vata. Yeah. Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt would be more Pitta. He's definitely more Pitta. Okay, so let's talk about Kapha imbalances and how they become imbalanced, and then we'll go into how to balance those imbalances. So Kapha imbalances tend to appear as Brad Pitt, as cold, cough, and congestion because it lives in the upper third register of our body. Seasonal allergies, a heavy feeling in the stomach, more of a sluggish digestion or lack of hunger. And again, this is when Kapha is out of balance. Weight gain, water retention, swelling, and puffiness, different than inflammation. Lethargy, depression, lack of motivation. Attachment, greed, or hoarding. And stubbornness, because think of like the dense, stable, sticky quality of Kapha. And the way Kapha becomes imbalanced is eating heavy, dense, oily, sticky, cold, thick foods. I know that's like, what does that mean? Like think like smoothies, like really cold, thick, kind of dense smoothies can aggravate or accumulate Kapha. Oily, sticky, cold, heavy, dense foods. Like I think of like fettuccine Alfredo, meat, things like that. Cool and wet climates or spring months can aggravate kapha. If you're in your early years or childhood years, your kapha will be more aggravated. A sedentary lifestyle. So this is something to think about, especially as we're in this time of COVID and we're sitting more, we're on our computers more, our screens more. You may not have as much mental or physical stimulation. So your kapha could be potentially building and accumulating, creating more of a kapha imbalance. A lack of variety. So if you're just stuck in too much of a routine and not enough of a variety can build kapha. Or too little exercise and movement, too slow, or not enough heat and circulation. So think about our lymphatic system. That's all kapha dosha related. We need heat and stimulation. So now take your pen to your paper or into the chat function. I'd love the chat function if you have it. I'd love for you to just do a minute or two of journaling on how kapha is showing up for you balanced. So the balanced parts of kapha and imbalanced. What are any imbalances that you might notice in yourself? You can put your pen to journal, especially if you're watching this after we've broadcasted, or share in the chat function if you're live with us right now. So take a couple minutes. Sluggish digestion. Okay. Thank you, Robin, for sharing. Any balanced versions of kapha since your kapha constitution? And again, I know it's a vulnerable thing to share, but I feel like we've got the regular peeps here in the chat function. So you've built some connection and community with each other. So how is kapha showing up for you? Balanced and imbalanced. Balance, loyal, good long-term memory. Awesome. Thank you, Neil. Imbalance, lack of motivation and stubbornness. I feel you, sister. I feel you. Moving well, have good long-term memory, and strong. Good. I love reading these. Got one more minute to share, and then we'll move into how to balance kapha constitution or how to balance the kaphas in your life or during this season. I find that that during this time of shelter in place, kapha is probably accumulating for most of us. So, Gabby, we have steady resolve, good memory, and strength. Yes, sweet, and you crave sweet and salty, Robin. I do too. I'm actually on a mission now. I'm eliminating sugar starting today. Anything with added sugar, I'm taking out starting today. Unbalanced, sleeping too much, and sinus pressure. Okay, we ready to unpack AC? If you have any kapha imbalance or balanced, yeah, type it in. I'd love to hear. Salt and sweet, yeah. Let's talk about how we can balance it out and then do a little experiential. So how to balance kapha. Kapha, similarly to vata, needs to get warm. But for kapha, instead of doing like an oil massage, especially if you're kapha constitution, you want to think of more dry, brisk exfoliation. You can do this with like dry brushing or what we call Garshana gloves, which are silk gloves. Doing more exfoliation. Sauna, steaming, fast, deep massage. If your skin is not that oily or you don't feel like your skin is, that you can absorb more oil, you can do as well as a fast deep massage with oil like sesame or sunflower oil is a nice one. It's not as unctuous or thick as sesame oil. Wake, get up before or with the sunrise. So if you're sleeping past, the hours and you notice that you feel really sluggish in the morning, start to shift and dial back your clock so that you can wake up with the sunrise or right before the sunrise. And this will improve your energy. I've been doing this all week. I know we're only 3 days into the week, but it has really helped improve my energy. Yoga. You get to have the most fun with yoga. So it's warming, stimulating, energizing, moving, activating, and circulating. These are the types of yoga practices that you want to practice. So vinyasa, lots of twists, arm balances, still keeping grounded, just so that we don't push vata out of whack, with a variety, and then more thinking about quad opening. Your Kapha dosha lives more in the front of your thighs. And last week we talked about Pitta on the inner and outer thighs and Vata in the hamstrings, in the back of the thighs. Kapha, you just need a shorter shavasana, or even omit shavasana. So no rests during the day. This is how to balance Kapha dosha. Your breath can be warming, so Ujjayi breath, Kapalabhati breathing, which is skull shining breath. It helps to clear all the sinuses. It can be pretty intense, but also stimulating and pumping the belly while you're breathing. We lack quad opening in general in Power Vinyasa. It is a very good tip. Yes. Bhastrika, which is bellows breath. It's very intense. It's like almost like hyperventilation. If you do the Wim Hof method, it's very similar type of breathing to Wim Hof. Long exhales with a retention at the bottom of the exhale. So doing a kumbhak, retention at the bottom of the exhale so that you feel empty as opposed to filling up with breath. Uddiyana Bandha Kriya, which is an abdominal lock, and then adding Agni Sara, where you're pumping your belly back on an empty stomach and massaging the stomach and all the internal organs will help stimulate digestion. And if you do any of these intense types of breathing or stimulating, circulating types of breath, you want to make sure you do it on an empty stomach. And then solar breath. Solar breath is in through the right nostril and out through the left. And that is a heating, more warming breath. I will add that if you are primarily Pitta dosha and you are aggravated, just notice if the solar breathing can be too irritating for your mental state. At least for me it was, but you won't know until you try. Your meditation for Kapha balancing should be more of a walking meditation is really good. Mantra, metta meditation, where you're extending loving kindness to yourself and others. Doing kirtan, so where you're singing, you're celebrating, joyful, stimulating visualizations. These are great for balancing Kapha. And exercise should be warming and stimulating. You get to get a lot of variety to balance Kapha. So walking, hiking, dancing, jogging, variety of mental and physical stimulation. Still not like vigorous exercise, but definitely more on the moderate to intense for Kapha balancing. And I would add that doing it during Kapha time of morning is, so between the hours of 6 a.m. to 10 a.m., is ideal to help support and balance Kapha constitution, or on the earlier end of the evening, so 6 to 7, or, as you move into the tail end of Vata time is a good time to balance Kapha. Your food to balance Kapha, which we've talked a little bit about over the last couple weeks in the other session that I was leading, is light, simple cooked foods. So think the things that are naturally growing in harvest right now. Bitter and astringent and pungent foods. Think more steamed and grilled veggies. There's a lot of bitter and astringent greens like dandelion greens, kale, broccoli, I'm thinking like pomegranate, legumes are astringent. So these types of things help draw out moisture and the excess moisture in the body. Dry grains. So the types of dry grains that are easier on the digestion and more lightening, help to reduce kapha, are millet, barley, and quinoa. And then adding more pungent spices like black pepper, ginger, and cayenne. Kaphas get to have a little bit of simple caffeine, so black coffee or black tea, but just not adding the heaviness of like cream or sugar, things like that will cause more imbalance. And avoid heavy foods. So anything like meat, wheat, sugar, dairy, all those things will bog down, create more congestion. And clothes. You can wear bright colors, fun, summery, cheerful colors. I also think like putting bright things around your space, having plants or bright flowers, things like that, that boost your mood, are really helpful. So, what practices are you currently doing to balance kapha? And what's one new practice that you could implement? Type into the chat function or take 1 minute to journal what practices you're doing and what's one new thing you'd like to implement to create balance for yourself during this season of kapha accumulation, especially during this pandemic. One thing I've been doing is cooking with spring spices and focusing on more lightening foods and less heavy foods. And one thing I would like to implement would be to do more variety of physical stimulation. So taking different types of classes and getting outside more. So currently you're doing a variety of exercise. You'll get up before the sun. Moving forward. Awesome. Thanks, Robin. Try that on this week. More consistent prana practices. Thank you, Anthony. Okay, let's try on for our last couple minutes together one breath technique so that you can feel how it could potentially balance these heavy, cool, dense, slow qualities of kapha. So most of us know ujjayi breath. So we'll try on ujjayi breath, and at the bottom of the exhale, a short breath retention. Some contraindications for breath retention: if you have high uncontrolled blood pressure, glaucoma, or you're on your first to third day of your menstrual cycle, no need to do any breath retention, but ujjayi will still work. So seal your lips, inhale through your nose, exhale through your nose, constrict your throat, create a textured breath. Completely empty out. Hold at the bottom of your exhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, ujjayi. Through your nose, exhale. Hold for 4, 3, 2, 1. One more. Inhale, fill up. Exhale through your nose, ujjayi. Hold for 4, 3, 2, 1. Release the breath technique. Return to a natural rhythm of breath. Just observe how you feel. And then share in the chat function, how do you feel post ujjayi with a short breath retention on the exhale? What are the after effects? Feel lighter. Awesome, Robin. Anyone else? I feel a little warmer, a little drier in my mouth. So drying out some of the damp qualities of Kapha. And if anyone else wants to share what they already do to balance Kapha and one thing they're going to try on, type it in. And that is our time together. Thank you so much for joining us for these 30-minute lifestyle and diet lifestyle practices are really for you to practice stress relief at home during this time. Tomorrow will actually be an introduction to meditation with Heather, and then it'll switch over to Lara Gobins next week. We will be transitioning over to live.corepoweryoga.com. These classes will still be free. You'll just still need to reserve a spot, and we'll actually be able to see each other on Zoom. So check it out, live.corepoweryoga.com. Anthony, if you could type that in the chat function. And join us Monday through Friday for the 3 p.m. free classes. Again, this will be our last week streaming on YouTube, but next week you'll still be able to join us live starting next week on our new platform. And we hope that you'll join us there. I'll hang on for another minute or two if you have any questions or anything else you want to share. Thank you so much, Robin. Thank you, Gabby. Thanks, Anthony, for being here and moderating. If you have anything else to share or type, do so now. And I'll be on for one more minute, and then we'll end our time together. Thank you. Good to see you. Thanks, Neil. All right, friends, have a good rest of your week, and I'll see you next week at live.corepoweryoga.com.